All right, well, the Pune techie rape case has taken a stunning turn as police investigations now suggest a major discrepancy in the women's initial allegations. Earlier, the 22-year-old IT professional claimed she was raped at her flat in Kandwa by a stranger posing as a delivery agent who allegedly drugged her and left behind a chilling selfie and a message reading, "I will be back." However, police say the accused, who was arrested 2 days later, is not a stranger at all, but a 25-year-old man who had been in contact with the woman for nearly a year now. Well, the two had reportedly met on Instagram and had even communicated on WhatsApp leading up to the incident. Crucially, no signs of forced entry were found, nor were there any traces of chemical spray or a physical struggle. The alleged selfie, initially assumed to be a post-crime taunt from the attacker, was in fact taken with the woman's consent, and the threatening message is now believed to have been typed by the woman herself. Police suspect a personal dispute may have led to the filing of the complaint, though they have not ruled out the possibility of an actual sexual assault. The woman has since been admitted to a hospital and is undergoing psychiatric evaluation. Investigators are now carefully reviewing the medical evidence, digital communications and CCTV footage to determine the authenticity of the allegations and whether any section of the IPC regarding false information or misleading law enforcement may apply. Well, the accused, meanwhile, has been released, with police emphasizing that the case is still open and all aspects are being thoroughly examined. Let's talk about this, but before that, let me in fact open my colleague Shahid once again into this conversation. Shahid, इस मामले में जहाँ पर आरोपी को एक रेपिस्ट बताया जा रहा था और एक डिलीवरी एजेंट बताया जा रहा था, कहानी अब बिल्कुल पलट चुकी है।
जी बिल्कुल भी नहीं। जिस तरह से आपने देखा, तीसरा दिन है वारदात को, और जिस तरह से ये वारदात को लेकर जितना जो है हंगामा बरपा हुआ था कि एक कोच सोसाइटी में इस तरह की वारदात अंजाम दी गई। पुणे पुलिस के 10 टीम बनाई गई थी, जिसमें से 5 क्राइम ब्रांच की थी और 5 जो है लोकल पुलिस की थी। 500 पुलिसकर्मी जो है इस पूरे मामले को लेकर हल करने पर लगे हुए थे, लेकिन बाद में पता चला कि मामला बिल्कुल विपरीत है। यानी कि जो पीड़िता है, वो युवती है, वो खुद ही शातिर निकली। जिसके बारे में वो रेपिस्ट बता रही है वो उनके जानने वाला है। पिछले 1 साल से वो एक दूसरे को जानते हैं, बल्कि जानना भी बहुत नहीं, उससे ज्यादा ये कि उनके शादी को लेकर जो दिखाने की जो रस्म है वो तक पूरी हुई थी। और इन सब के बावजूद जो है पीड़िता ने जिस तरह से जो मनगढ़ंत कहानी बनाई है, उसको लेकर कहीं ना कहीं पुलिस के लिए बहुत बड़ा दर्द सिर था कि आरोपी को पकड़ना। आरोपी को वहीं पास से ही बानेर के इलाके से हिरासत में लिया गया, लेकिन पुलिस ने टेक्निकल ग्राउंड को देखते हुए सारी चीजें जब देखी तो पुलिस ने सिर्फ हिरासत में लिया, उसे गिरफ्तार नहीं किया, क्योंकि जो है पीड़ित का जो बयान था, पूरे बयान में हर जगह झूठ और झोल नजर आ रहा था। पहला बयान पीड़िता ने जो दिया सेल्फी वाला, वो भी सेल्फी फोटो उसने खुद खींची। उस पर जो टेक्स्ट लिखे गए थे, टेक्स्ट वो उन्हीं के जरिए लिखे गए थे, पीड़िता के जरिए। जो आरोपी जिस पर तथाकथित आरोपी जो पीड़िता बता रही है, वो कोई डिलीवरी बॉय नहीं था, बल्कि वो इनके जानने वाला था। घर पर जब आने के बाद जो है काफी देर तक बातचीत हुई और पिज्जा वगैरह खाने के लिए भी जो है मंगाया गया पीड़िता ने। और उसके बाद जो है मामला रेप की शक्ल में जो है मामला दर्ज करा दिया गया। चूंकि बात एक पीड़िता की थी, एक युवती की, एक महिला की थी, इसलिए पुलिस ने भी मामले को बड़ी संगीन तरीके से लिया और गंभीरता से लिया। और उसके बाद मामले की तफ्तीश की तो पता चला कि मामला तो यहाँ कुछ और है। जिसके बाद आरोपी से देर रात तक पूछताछ की गई, उसे गिरफ्तार नहीं किया गया, उसे हिरासत में लेके फिर छोड़ दिया गया। क्योंकि पुणे पुलिस कमिश्नर अमितेश कुमार ने बताया कि हम इस पूरे मामले को बहुत ही बारीकी से तफ्तीश कर रहे हैं, लेकिन मामला जो दिख रहा है वो असल में है नहीं। फिर इसके बाद जब पीड़िता से जो है बहुत सारे सवालात हुए तो दूध का दूध और पानी का पानी अलग अलग हो गया, और पता ये चला कि पीड़िता जो आरोप लगा रही है वो सीधे सीधे सब झूठे हैं। और जो आरोपी जिसे पुलिस ने जो है हिरासत में लिया है, वो और ये इनके बीच में जो है एक साल से जो है एक दूसरे की जान पहचान है, इनके ताल्लुकात भी हैं। अब इसके बाद भी जो है पीड़िता ने जिस तरह से माहौल बनाने के लिए ये चीज, इसके बाद पूछा गया उससे कि क्यों किए, तो बताया कि पीड़िता ने बताया कि वो मेंटली जो है स्टेबल नहीं है। वो बता रहे हैं कि वो जहनी तनाव में मुब्तला है, इस तरह की बात उन्होंने की। जी।
All right, joining us on the program to talk more about this is Ms. N.S. Nipanai, Senior Advocate, Tahira Hassan, Women Activist, with us on the broadcast, Brinda Adige, Activist, also with us on the show here as well. Brinda ji, I'll begin with you. Well, more often than not, ma'am, we usually end up talking about the fact that how unsafe this space, or rather the country, has become when it comes to women's safety and security. But this is a peculiar case. It seems that this sensitivity has been maligned, it has been misused, and it has been leveraged to frame someone. What do you make of this episode? And if we are supposed to draw a balance between safety allegations of rape and intimidation, we also need to have sensitivity towards dealing with victims who are, sort of projected as criminals but end up being victims themselves. Perhaps this person who was accused of, raping this particular woman.
Like you mentioned, this is a matter of great concern. But also, let us place on record that generally we have a very high number of women who are targeted and women who are the victims and survivors. Of course, in this one case that we are talking about, there is a man who is being maligned and falsely probably complained, but that again has to be seen after the police make their complete investigation. But that said, do we want to even ask a question? Is women's safety and security a matter of concern? Absolutely. Is our laws being misused? Tell me a single law that is not being misused. And again, we are talking about the critical mass. We're talking about 99% of women vis-a-vis this 1% who might misuse the law or who might make a false complaint. So we must be very careful when we want to make these statements. Are laws being misused? Laws which have come about after a lot of work by women's rights organizations, after many demonstrations and PILs in the Supreme Court. We've got laws. No law has been given to us women on a plate by politicians or elected representatives or even the court. That said, let us tread very, very carefully that when such cases of false cases or cases with maligning another man is coming up, let us look at it seriously. And yes, the person who's made the false complaint must be duly punished or duly penalized, whatever the court might decide. But that said, let us never go into this area. Laws are being misused, and so women are safe and secure. No, you and I know women are neither safe or secure inside their homes nor outside. And that job is still pending, which the government has to do a lot of work on.
Absolutely right. Tahira ji, how do you look at this particular case? Of course, there are reforms that take place within our laws to protect the rights of women as citizens alike. But the fact of the matter is that there are these peculiar loopholes that are sometimes taken advantage of. And we have seen that in the last few months as well. Where certain men have committed suicide, and it's been put on the kind of mental torture that was being orchestrated by their wives or exes. Now, this is an area which is sensitive and has been misused in the past as well. How do you think, the government as well as several agencies who get involved when something like this happens should be addressing it?
This time this is really I will say that is a very shocking case also for me, because these type of cases only weaken the women's rights, and the laws which have been enacted for the protection of the women, which have been made, as Vinda said, after the lots of struggle, women's struggle is involved into it. So, but it is not the only law that has been misused, I say, and you cannot judge all the women by the action of one woman. I mean, you can't be judgmental in that. And there's so many. Recently, in Law University, Law College, the girl was so, brutally raped, So this does not mean that all men are rapists. These kind of cases, if any case with the women is blamed or women misuse the law, there's so much hue and cry. People say, you see, these women are misusing the law, because it's a patriarchal society where the patriarchy is deep rooted. And they want to control the women's sexuality. Here's one more point that you have not mentioned, which I have read in some newspaper, that the man was her friend, no doubt. He used to come, they were friendly, whether they were in live-in relationships, doesn't matter, because highest court of the land has given it a green signal. But thing is this, that if the woman doesn't want to go into sex, no man can force her. Even the prostitute cannot be forced. The thing is this, that that day she did not want to go to have the sex, and he forced himself on her. So she was annoyed. This also one of the statement. I'm not sure, but I read somewhere So these things are under, now right now it is going on, the investigation is going on, so we can't jump into any conclusion. Let the investigation complete and we'll find out. She's mentally disturbed. She's not mentally sound right now. It is not like that she's a mental case, because she is working, she's working with a reputed firm, IT firm. This means she can't be a mental case. It's not like that saying that she said this, she said that. Let the things complete, then we can jump into the conclusion. Right now, if the whatever the investigation has come, that according to police, she has misused the law, so of course she should be punished. And there is a law for that, she will be punished. But thing is this, let the investigation complete. Whenever the cases of misuse of law comes against the women, we jump in the conclusion. The women are like that. Women misuse all the laws. This is only the men are victim. It's a case, whoever is victim should get the justice, and whoever is accused must be punished. It is the law of the land also. So it should not be categorically divided into men and women like that. It always happens. Whenever the women misuse a single law, 100 women, one woman if used, 100 men use, doesn't matter. But if one woman is going to misuse the law, it is said it is all the women are like that. You cannot generalize it like that.
All right, that's a good point. Ms. Nippanai, generalization is the biggest enemy, isn't it? And it's true for either men or women.
Absolutely. And I think today you have a panel which would have absolute consensus too. A rarity probably, but it's a reality. So, one thing I wanted to emphasize is it's all very premature. Whenever you speak about a criminal case, you need to wait for investigation to evolve to see where the facts land. Ultimately, there is an accusation, which is what is the beginning of an investigation. And it is only during investigation that facts get exposed or evolved. And then the case proceeds to decide the authenticity of the information that has been collected during the investigation process. So until a person is convicted, there is no reason for anybody to jump to conclusions in terms of what the real facts of a particular case may be. Having said that, it's very critical for every viewer to know that filing a false complaint is in itself an offense. Fabricating evidence for the purpose of supporting a false complaint is also an offense. But there are a lot of crucial points that both panelists have already pointed out. The first and foremost is, do not generalize the same way as we would, and I think Brenda really nicely captured that merely because one man rapes, it doesn't make all men rapists. Similarly, merely because one person may or may not have filed a false complaint, it does not mean that all women will resort to false complaints, right? We cannot generalize at this juncture. There was a reason, there was a well thought out and detailed study done before additional provisions were brought into the law to support women's rights. The additional provisions find a place in the new law, which just finished a 1-year anniversary in the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. Each of these are well supported in terms of statistics and what is happening in reality. We must remember that not everybody is we are not living in a utopian world where everything is black and white. We live in a world of the gray areas where people will use, people will abuse, and it is for the system to figure out what is right and what is not. And that's why you have these processes built in of a preliminary stage of investigation and a final report. And even then, you don't just directly hold somebody guilty. You still have a court process for evaluating the evidence collected to see what is right and wrong. So I would say, wait and watch and see where the pieces land. And let's not jump the gun to either assume that the girl has filed a false complaint or that the boy is innocent, or for that matter, that there has been a rape. We'll have to wait and watch. I know this may not really
You're
answer.
absolutely right. But, my contention, Vrindaji, at this point in time would be that, the inconvenience and the tarnish that such a false accusation brings about is irreversible. Is that an area or a gray area that you think that the law could do more in?
Absolutely. I think it's very
That's for
critical.
Vrindaji. MS Nipunai. That's for Vrindaji.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. Right now, we know that if there is a false complaint, the law takes its course. The courts do look at it quite seriously, and people are penalized for these cases. But let us also place on record, we are talking about somebody's reputation over here at stake. I do not know if you have the statistics in front of you of the number of women whose lives are gone, either by suicide or by murder. And reputation is important. It has to be at utmost in everybody's mind. But once the case is investigated and the court looks at it and says, okay, this is a false complaint, or okay, this is not a false complaint, then I'm sure the charges are all dropped and the person comes out as an innocent person. And our courts function on that. Not one innocent person shall be penalized. The 99, if they are criminals, they can be let off. But this one innocent cannot be penalized. So let's wait for it. But I want you to look at the angle of the number of women who suffer all kinds of aspersions cast on them, insults and humiliations. And we saw all of this when a couple of men recorded something and committed suicide, blaming the wife. There were people all out on the streets saying that she must come off from the job, do this for her, do this. Do they have the statistics of number of women who die and who suffer silently every day? We need to address that because we are such a patriarchal society. We don't want to address it. Our structures are equally patriarchal, and we do not want anybody's reputation to be tarnished, but we also do not want anybody's lives to be taken away. Every life is precious. So let's start talking about how we need to respect and treat each other with dignity, and any kind of false complaints will be taken up quite seriously, and the court will be quick in its decisions. Because the court processes are so tedious, so cumbersome, most often we don't get cases coming up to court. So we need to look at police reform and judicial reforms.
Taira ji, your thoughts on that before we end the show?
Yes, of course, I agree with her that I agree that if the complaint is false, she will be punished. The law of the land will take its course. The court will give the judgment on that. But thing is this, that what about the women? Their reputation is also tarnished. In so many cases, the girl who is raped, she is blamed. Her lifestyle, her food habit, her dressing sense is blamed for the rape. This is a protection of rape culture. So I think that we have to think. Most of the women, you say, they are struggling. They are struggling for the life. They have been raped, and they are just not able to go to our remote village areas. Women are not go to the police station even to get their FIR registered. So all the FIRs are not registered. In the women case, in women atrocities, in sexual harassment. So we should not see it into that way. Whoever is accused must be punished. Law will take its course, must take its course, and we stand with the innocent people, whether the innocent is man or woman, doesn't matter. But thing is this, that the women who are suffering every day, every second, every minute, in all over the India. So what about them? We must not generalize it. This is what I want. Whenever any incident happens, whenever any law is misused, people start shouting that how the dowry law is misused, how the women are misusing the dowry law. This is, I think, or how many women have been murdered for the dowry? It's an evil practice that makes the women second-class citizens. Think about it also.
All right. Appreciate everyone who joined and spoke their minds out for this very crucial debate that must continue every now and again.